The first thing I'm going to do is label each point as our x1, y1, and x2 and y2. So since this is our first point, the one on top, I'm going to label it as x1. So the 0 is going to be our x1. The 3 is going to be our y1. Since our second point's the one on the bottom, the 4 is going to be our x2, and the 1 is going to be our y2. So now I'm just going to take these numbers and plug them into our slope formula to find the slope. So we have our y2 is 1, our y1 is 3, so we have 1 minus 3 on top. Our x2 is 4 minus our x1, which is 0. So we have 1 minus 3 on top, which is -2. And then 4 minus 0 is 4. We can simplify -2 over 4 to -1/2. So our slope for these 2 points would be -1/2. If we graph these 2 points, we'll be able to see that this line that connects them is decreasing because our slope is negative. So if we go 0, 3, so we go up 3, our first point would be there. Next we have 4, 1, so we would go to the right 4, and up 1. So our second point would be right there. And if we drew a line connecting these 2 points, we see that our line is decreasing. Which makes sense because our slope is negative. If we had a line starting from left to right that goes up, this would be increasing slope. So our slope would be positive if our line looked like that. If we had a line going straight up and down, here our slope would be undefined. And then our fourth type of slope would be if we had a horizontal line. So just a flat line. This we would have a slope of 0. The way that I tell undefined and 0 apart would be undefined has a slope that goes up and down, so you just think the n goes up and down, and then the slope of 0 would be a flat line. That's just one little trick to tell these two apart. Okay, moving on to distance. So again, we're going to keep using these 2 points here, and we're just going to plug them into our distance formula. So we have d is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1. So we're going to plug in our x2, which we said was 4. Our x1 is 0. So we have 4 minus 0 squared plus our y2 is 1 minus our y1, which is 3. So 4 minus 0 is 4, so this would be 4 squared plus 1 minus 3 would be -2, so this would be -2 squared. 4 squared is 16. Negative 2 squared would be 4. So this would be the square root of 20. If we wanted to put this in simplest radical form, we know that we can just find the factors of 20, which would be 4 and 5. And then 4 breaks down into 2 and 2, so we could take out the 2. So this would be 2 square root 5. So this is just simplifying this. Any questions so far? Okay, moving on to the midpoint. The midpoint's probably the easiest one out of these three. We're doing the same thing, plugging in our 2 points that we have, but we're just finding our average of our x's and our average of our y's. So we add the 2 x's together and divide by 2, add the 2 y's together, divide by 2. So our 2 x's would be 0 plus 4 divided by 2, and our 2 y's would be 1 plus 3 divided by 2. So to simplify this, we have 4 over 2 and 4 over 2. 4 over 2 would be 2, so our midpoint would be 2, 2. Any questions from this page? Ready for the next page? All right, so our first example says find the equation of a line with the given info. So our equation of the line, we have 2 different types of equations of the line that we typically use. So we have our slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. So this is slope-intercept. And then we also have our point slope form, which is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So this is point slope. For these examples, it doesn't tell us which one that we have to use. So we could pick either one. It just says find the equation of a line. So either one we pick would give us the same line, just in a different form. So we can do both of them. So for A, to find the equation of a line with the slope of 2 that passes through -1, 7. First, doing slope-intercept form. So we're going to put this into y is equal to mx plus b. So we have our slope, and we have 2 points. We have 1 point. We have an x and we have a y. So we can plug everything we have into our equation. So if we plug in our y, we have 7 is equal to, we plug in our m, so 2 times -1, but we don't have a b. So here we need to solve for our b. So we're solving for this y-intercept here. So we can just simplify this equation. We have 7 is equal to 2 times -1 is -2 plus b. We're going to add 2 to both sides. So we have 9 is equal to b. So for slope-intercept form, all we need is our slope and our intercept. So we just need that m and the b, and then our equation's done. So we're going to plug in our m and our b and get our equation. So we have y is equal to, our m was given, which is 2 times x plus 9. So this is our equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Still looking at A, if we wanted to find our equation of the line in point slope form, we start by plugging in what we have. So we have y minus y1 is this 7. Our slope is 2. And then x minus x1. So we have minus -1, which becomes a plus 1. And this would be our equation in point slope form. Okay, for B, any questions for part A? All right, moving on to B. So we're doing the same thing here. It gives us our slope, and it gives us a point that it passes through. So we're going to do the same thing we did from part A. First, we're going to find the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So we have y is equal to mx plus b. We're going to plug in our m, which is -3/4. We're going to plug in our x, and we're going to plug in our y. So our y is -2, which is equal to -3/4 times x, which is 3, plus b. So here we're solving for b. Next, we just need to simplify our equation so we can get b equals. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply. So we have -2 is equal to -3/4 times 3. We just multiply our numerators together. So we have -3 times 3, which is -9/4 plus b. Now to get our b all by itself, we just add 9/4 to both sides. So we have -2 plus 9/4 is equal to b. Now, in order to add a fraction to a whole number, we need these numbers to have the same denominator. So -2 right now has the denominator of 1, but we need to get it to have the denominator of 4. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 4. So this becomes negative 8 over 4 plus 9 over 4 is equal to b. Now that we have the same denominator, we can add these two together. So negative 8 plus 9 would be negative 1 over 4, which is equal to our b. So now that we have our b, our y-intercept, and we have our slope, we can plug these two into our formula for slope-intercept form. So we have y is equal to, we plug in our m, which is negative 3/4, times x plus b. Our b is negative, so it would be minus 1/4. If we were to take what was given and plug it into point slope form, we just plug in our x1 and our y1 and our slope. So we have y minus y1, which is negative 2, is equal to our slope is negative 3/4 times x minus x1, which is 3. And we can simplify this equation a little bit just by changing our negative minus a negative, so this becomes y plus 2. So here we have our equation in slope-intercept form and point-slope form.
Question.
Yes.
If we only show the work for slope-intercept form and not for point slope, will you take credit off?
It'll be specific on what it asks for. So like this question doesn't ask for anything, so you could pick, like obviously it's a lot less work to do point slope form. So if you just wanted to put it in point slope form, that's totally fine because this question doesn't ask, so you can just pick whichever one you want. But I'm just showing you both in case it does ask for slope-intercept form. So if it doesn't ask you for what type of equation it wants you to do, you can pick.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Miss Carver,
Yes.
why is B negative?
Oh, you're right. It should be positive. My bad. Good call. So this is just a positive 1/4. So this should just be plus 1/4. Good catch. Okay, for part C, here it doesn't give us the slope, it just gives us 2 points. So what we need to do is find the slope. So we're going to use our slope formula. So we have m is equal to, going back to our first page, our slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the best thing to do here would be to label our points, so then we just plug them in. So our first point is going to have x1 and y1, our second point is going to have x2 and y2. And now we just plug it into our formula. So our slope is going to be y2 is 7 minus 1, x2 is negative 8 minus negative 8. So 7 minus 1 is 6. negative 8 minus a negative 8, this becomes a plus. So this would be negative 8 plus 8, which is 0. Here we run into a problem because we can't have 0 in the denominator. So what do you think our slope is going to be?
Undefined.
Undefined, perfect. So when our slope is undefined, our equation is going to be x equals. So if we were to graph these 2 points, so we have negative 8, so we're going to go to the left 8 and up 1. And then we have negative 8, 7, so we go to the left 8 and up 7. So our line is going to look like this. So for our equation x equals, what do you think x is going to be equal to?
0.
Negative 8.
Negative 8, perfect. So if we look at our equation here, or our 2 points here, both of these x's are negative 8. So here it doesn't matter what our y is, because in this equation, all that matters is x is equal to negative 8. So for any value of y, x is always going to be negative 8. If we were to have a slope of 0, I'll just show you guys on the side here. So the slope of 0 would be a horizontal line. This equation would be y is equal to. Because for any value of y, x is always going to be the same thing. So if this was 4, we would have y is equal to 4. And y is always going to be equal to 4, no matter what value of x it is. Okay, any questions here? All right, write the equation of a line through the given point A parallel to and B perpendicular to the given line. Okay, first thing we're going to do here, I'm going to change these numbers, so I just don't want to deal with fractions, so we're going to make this -2 and 8. So we're changing our x to -2 and our y is 8. If two lines are parallel to each other, this means that they have the same slope. If two lines are perpendicular to each other, this means that their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So opposite reciprocals, an example would be if one line, hang on one second, my computer's gonna die. Okay, if one line has a slope of, let's say, 2/5, its opposite reciprocal would be the reverse sign. So since this is positive, opposite would be negative, and reciprocal would just be the flip of it. So we have 2/5, the reciprocal would be 5/2. So this is just an example of an opposite reciprocal. Okay, so this question gives us the slope of, or the equation of a line in standard form, but we can't tell what our slope is here from standard form. So we're gonna have to put this into point slope form in order to tell what our slope is. Actually, we're gonna put this into slope-intercept form. So we know slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b. So we need to rearrange this equation here to be y equals. So first thing we're going to do is move everything that's not y onto the other side. So to move the 3x to the other side, we need to subtract 3x from both sides of our equation. So it's going to cancel out on the left. So we have 4y is equal to negative 3x plus 7. Now we want it to be y equals, so we need to get rid of this 4. So we're going to divide everything in our equation by 4. So we have y is equal to negative 3/4 x plus 7/4. So what's our slope here?
Negative 3/4.
Negative 3/4, perfect. So for our equation of the line that's parallel to this line, what's our slope going to be?
Negative 3/4.
Negative 3/4. It's going to have the same slope. Do you guys want to put our equation in line in slope-intercept form or point slope form? You can pick.
Slope-intercept.
All right, let's do slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b. So we have our x and we have our y here, and we have our m. So we can just plug everything in and find our b. So our y is 8, our m is negative 3/4, our x is negative 2, and then plus b. So now we just solve for b. So we have 8 is equal to, we need to multiply negative 3/4 times negative 2. We multiply our numerators together, so negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. So we have 6/4 plus b. 6/4 simplifies to 3/2. And now to get b all by itself, we're just going to subtract 3/2 on both sides. So it'll cancel out on the right side. And we have 8 minus 3/2 is equal to b. In order to subtract our fraction, we need our denominators to be the same. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom here by 2. So we get 16/2 minus 3/2. We subtract our numerators, so 16 minus 3 would be 13/2. So now that we have our m and we have our b, we can plug it in into slope-intercept form. So we have y is equal to, what's our m here, our slope? Negative 3/4. X plus, what's our b?
13/2.
13/2. So this is our equation. Okay, for b, now we have to find the equation of the line that's perpendicular. So what would our slope be if it's perpendicular to our original equation?
4/3.
4/3, perfect. So remember, it's the opposite reciprocal. So since we started with negative 3/4, it becomes positive 4/3. So we just flip it. Now, do you want to find the equation of the line in slope-intercept form or point-slope form?
Slope-intercept.
Slope-intercept. So slope-intercept, again, is going to be y is equal to mx plus b. So here we have our x, and we have our y, and we have our m. So we're just going to plug it all in and solve for b. So our y is 8, our m is 4/3, and our x is negative 2. So what's the first thing we do here?
It would have been easier to just do point slope, right?
It would be easier, yeah. What's the first thing we do here?
You multiply.
We multiply. So we have 8 is equal to, we multiply our fractions at 4/3 times negative 2. We multiply our numerators, so we have negative 8/3 plus b. Now we add 8/3 to both sides, so it'll cancel out on the right. So we have 8 plus 8/3 is equal to b. We need these to have our common denominator, so we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by 3. 8 times 3 is 24, so we have 24/3 plus 8/3. (24 plus 8 is 32). So our b is equal to 32/3. So now that we have our m and we have our b, we can just plug those in. So we have y is equal to, what's our m here?
Four over 3.
4/3 times x, and what's our b?
32/3.
32/3. If we wanted to do this one in point slope form, we have our point, which is negative 2, 8, and we have our slope, which is 4/3. So we could just plug these in. So we would have y minus our y1 is 8, which is equal to our m, so 4/3 times x minus x1, so minus negative 2 would be plus 2. So these two are the same thing, they're just written in a different form. So we could make this equation be y equals, and it would look just like the one down here. So it all just depends on what it asks you for. I'm pretty sure the homework doesn't specify, so you guys can pick whichever one you want to do it in. Any questions? No questions?